This is what I want from the John Wick franchise moving forward. I don't care about getting John Wick 5. I don't need to see that story continue, but this world is too interesting to just drop entirely. Ballerina is a great way to explore different corners of the universe they've built, to add texture to places we've only got hints of in John Wick. I hope this isn't the last spin-off of the franchise because there's almost endless opportunities to make more. And if they're like this, I am so down. I was almost expecting this movie to not be great, but it was an extremely enjoyable time.
I agree. We got new exciting stories from the John Wick world. It's quite established. We got a new director. We got a whole new character from the world of John Wick. And it's hard when you can't stop thinking about John Wick. The guy on my wall right here, I have literally a portrait of Keanu Reeves on the wall as John Wick.
I was there when he got it, and it was like it was whispering to him. It was like, John, John, you must buy me.
John, to another John, you gotta get it. You gotta get it. And it's quite iconic with the cinematography, the fighting styles. But this one, however, is really interesting for Ana de Armas. She is badass in this movie. I'm glad that there is new ways to explore this universe. Sure, I'm down for John Wick 5, but again, we've seen a lot of John, so I want to see a new, different approach. But if he does come back, I do want to see him fighting his way through hell. Dante, Seven Layers of Hell, please give
Oh,
me
that would be
that.
so good. Before Ballerina, I sat down with a friend of mine and we watched the first three John Wicks. And then the next day, we went to cinema to see Ballerina. And it's seamless. This really does feel like kind of a crucial part of the story of the world. And I can't wait to talk about it. So cue the music.
This is the Out of Time Film Podcast, where your hosts Tom and John discuss everything from blockbuster films to TV and games like there's no tomorrow.
I know Ballerina came out a couple months ago, but we didn't have a free spot until now. It kind of feels like the John Wick franchise never gets priority from us on here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
This
John
is
Wick.
twice has happened. We was like, you know what? We'll talk about John Wick 4 later on in the year. Very good film. But this one, however, Ballerina was very surprising. Chad Stileski wasn't going to be the director for this one. And was this movie long in production? About that.
Yes. So
Yes.
this film began shooting in 2022, and it was quite a difficult production, actually. What you're saying about Chad Stahelski not being the director, he was brought on to do extensive reshoots, and a lot of the
Right.
action that we see in the final film is stuff that they added in to make it feel a little bit more like John Wick. And on one hand, it's never what you want to have a film ripped apart and reshot and rewrote. We'll never know what the original version was, but this film didn't feel tonally inconsistent. It wasn't like a Justice League. It felt pretty together. It didn't feel chopped
Yes,
up.
it reflected that hyper realistic world of John Wick because there's something odd about it when you see these characters suddenly start quoting something out of books. You know, just have Winston just quoting everything sometimes, and you're like, did you know there's a quote somewhere?
He does it in this film.
Yeah, he does it as well.
It,
Like, Eve, you ready to? I don't know what was the quote. It was something about Garden to
yeah,
Eve or
he was
something.
like, you know what happened when Eve took the apple from the Garden of Eden? It's very on the nose. It does not
Yeah.
take.
It's just so funny when you see the dialogue to it, the John Wick movies, because it's just so nonchalant, but it's just so
Mm.
zany and ridiculous. And there is a dark comedy element as well that you get to see in these movies. I think this one has that as well. It's just like, what the heck is going on?
Yeah, there's a scene in this one where you kind of laugh just because of how insane it is. You just kind of going, oh, ho, 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 like, I can't believe they did that. This could be actually the most gory of the John Wick films in that
I agree. Yeah,
sense.
it's very gory.
But yeah, so this is set in between John Wick 3 and 4. In John Wick 3, we get introduced to the Ruska Roma, training assassins and ballerinas. And in this one, we get to hone in on one of those. Eve, she's a new character. A lot of people thought that she was in John Wick 3. She's not in John Wick 3, different character. This is somebody new. And we basically track her becoming an assassin and having to save this little girl. Pretty standard, straightforward. And what I liked a lot about this film is that we got a lot of classic John Wick scenes, almost like a rite of passage. They give Eve, played by Ana de Armas, the classic club scene or the weapons selection scene, but they will do fun twists so they don't play out like they would for John, because obviously Eve,
Yeah.
she's a different character and she's a less experienced fighter, so of course it would be different. So the weapons demo scene, for example, it's actually interrupted by the bad guys, and so Eve can't actually use the weapons that are being shown off to her, and she has to find a way around it, which is a really smart subversion of expectations, because normally you'd get John walking in and Peter Serafinowicz just like, look at all these guns, and he's like, oh, yeah, there it is. And then he'll go off to the final confrontation or something like that. I really enjoyed that we got to do some twists on some classic John Wick stuff.
Yeah, there was another one where Eve leaves this nightclub and you get to see this aftermath of this carnage. And as she leaves, and it's kind of like, oh, she's going into the sunset, leaving the area until a car comes out of nowhere and collides into her. And we think, oh, no, it's not over. It's not over. It's still going. And that's great to see that in this world of John Wick, because it's like John easily gets to hordes of guys just going after him with guns and swords, whereas there's that subversion expectations. It just works so well, especially with Eve's fighting style. She'll use whatever items to fight her way through. She'll just get some really dirty moves and cheats her way through. I think that's a very different fighting method from John. Very interesting to see and actually study a lot of different fighting styles, because you can easily see the difference between John and Eve in this world.
Yeah, Ana de Armas is a small lady. She doesn't have the same physical advantages that Keanu Reeves does. And so when we see her training, they quite literally say, you need to use size to your advantage. And I like the idea that because opponents underestimate her and she is quicker and faster and she can utilize that in the action. But also she struggles quite a bit. And in her first mission, she's basically thrown about the place in this club, which happens repeatedly. She's not the beast that John Wick is. She's not got a bulletproof suit. She's not a seasoned professional. She has shortcomings that he doesn't. And then it is worth going to spoilers here. When she fights Wick himself, because Keanu Reeves does have a couple of scenes in this film, he basically hands her ass to her. There is no competition. John Wick is still the most dangerous fighter, and he wipes the floor with her. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, the most terrifying protagonist I think we have. Whereas Eve is on this journey of revenge and trying to get into this dangerous world. And also there's that really sad dichotomy where she has a friend in the Ruska Roma where one of them wants to be a ballerina and her friend becomes the ballerina at the end, and she sees her in the theater until Eve gets a bounty on her, and that's the sad reality for her. This is a dangerous game that she's playing into this world of assassins, and I think that's a great dichotomy to see. She has this very sad backstory. She wants to have a family, she wants to have a whole life with her father.
The idea that Eve wanted to be a ballerina but never got the chance. There's this cruel irony of the title of the film itself. The idea that the life that she has had thrust upon her doesn't actually let her live out her dreams, because she realizes that she's actually better at the fighting than she is at the actual ballet, because she's got that anger in her, she's got that drive, whereas her friend doesn't have that. And Angelica Houston's character, the director, even says that, where she says she didn't have the same drive that you did. It's actually really sad at the end seeing Eve watch her friend live out Eve's dream. I would have liked the film to go into that more. The opening especially moves through a lot at quite a pace.
Oh, it does.
There's a lot of family stuff, and I think I was much more invested in the idea of what's it like to live in the Ruska Roma and why would someone want to leave. This idea of generational trauma that they present that is very interesting. I feel like it doesn't go into Eve's pain as much as it could have.
Yeah, that is the most common problem that you encounter in the John Wick series, where it doesn't heavily invest into the emotional side. You could do that so well to understand the protagonist. I think you could do so much more into this movie. Eve is such an interesting character, how she grew up into this world of assassins and playing this protector in a way. She wants to save later generations from this whole thing to happen again. And I think that is the whole arc in this movie. She saves someone's daughter into this dangerous cult. I think that's a good arc for that. But what would help to make this more emotional is to see how much family means to her. Whereas we got a lot of action scenes, which are pretty good, but I think if we could have a bit more time with this movie, we could have something to explore.
Yeah, I agree. The John Wick films are action first and foremost, and we get some fantastic stuff here. There's like a flamethrower extravaganza.
Oh,
at the
that
end.
was so cool. That gave me
Yeah.
Dragon Ball vibes.
The flamethrower
Yeah.
goes so far as well. How often have you ever seen a flamethrower used to such distance? It's very, very cool. And the idea of a village of assassins, there's just all these bits where she's just trying to catch her breath, and then another assassin appears. Or maybe she catches eyes with one and she doesn't know if she can trust them. And then they just start throwing plates at her. And so she's throwing plates back. It's very fun. And of course, the highlight of the action is most definitely the fight with only grenades. As I'm saying, the weapons
Wow.
demo is interrupted, and all she has to use is a crate of grenades, and it was just excessively brilliant.
Yes, it's so innovative when there's no weapons around you but
Mm.
grenades or items at your disposal. My favorite one is where Eve kills somebody with ice skates. That's insane, and it's so cool to see the improvisation of those kills as well. It's crazy, and you get to see so much time that's put into it as well. And then the stunt work. You cannot forget the stunt work that goes into this. The stunt work is so not recognized.
But
This needs
hey,
to
I
be
mean,
said.
it's now a category in the Oscars, which is a massive deal. So that's really exciting.
Yeah.
If these action scenes are what Chad Stahelski was brought on for, then they let him cook. And I'm very happy about that because it doesn't miss a beat from the other John Wick movies. It is seamless. But you're right. Yeah, a lot of stuff does fly by. So Norman Reedus is in this film.
Yes, Norman Reedus. Yeah.
Allegedly. I think I saw him in there. Maybe he had like one scene.
Yeah, I think he was a bit busy just delivering
Ooh.
packages somewhere in a video game.
He probably had less than 3 minutes of screen time, something like
Which
that.
is
Because
so disappointing.
Yeah.
Because I love Norman Reedus. He's a great actor, but I would love to see how much of a fighter he is in this story or what his emotional motivation for this story as well. I think there was a lot to unpack there for this. But then again, we completely forget about him.
they drop him from the narrative, and there's a lot of characters who kind of show up and then we move on. And at times it feels like a highlight reel of people that you know, actors or characters. And I do feel like if they'd zeroed in on some more individual characters, including Eve, it would have been better. And John Wick 4 was pushing 3 hours. And I know that you have to earn that from an audience. You can't just make a ballerina movie and expect 3 hours of care from people. But I do think this film needed more quiet character moments. It's not something the John Wick franchise is especially well known for, but they normally do get an excellent balance between character and action, which I think this film gets slightly wrong. It goes a tad too deep into the action and some of the character stuff is left out. That's where you can see potentially that the reshoots did favor the action and less for the other stuff. This was our chance to get to know the director in a way that we've got to know Winston in John Wick, but we just kind of don't. I mean, we do get more from her, and Angelica Houston is great, but I wanted more.
Yeah, but it's interesting how they brought back John into this story. I think it's a great contrast that we get to see. It's a very smart move to have that timeline going through before John Wick 4 because, well, he dies. Sorry, everybody. It's
What?
like, John Wick dies? You cannot just forget John in the story. But I wondered why bring back John. Was it a way to have that familiarity?
Yeah, so apparently that was also one of these reshoots. The marketing heavily includes John Wick, which I think was a bad choice because can you imagine how exciting it would have been
Yes.
if we were surprised to see John Wick in this film? But I understand why they did it because does the film have a lot of appeal without the John Wick connection? I don't know. But they do use John Wick just enough. Even if he was a late addition, he gets to have small moments with Eve, assassin to assassin, which showcase what I think makes John different from any others. And I think it's cool how he gives her a shot to finish her mission at the end rather than just killing her. And we've seen him leave enemies alive before. And so I like that that is a level of consistency. And also, of course, he gets his own little action scene, which is very fun. And setting it in between chapter 3 and 4, it's a really good way of using it. And if the film was as much of a mess as it was reportedly before reshoots, they did a good job patching it up because adding in Wick, it does feel essential. And for nothing else, that moment where he steps off the train, pure sauce.
Bit of pure sauce there because I was worried that it was going to take away the spotlight for Eve in this because it's more focused on Eve, which I think they did a good job. But yeah, one highlight as well was the opening for me with Eve's father, with the fighting style that he has. I don't know why this came to my mind. Cowboy Bebop with Spike. There was just something fanatic about it. There was something smooth and also kind of crazy. Chapter 4 was heavily inspired by Cowboy Bebop. It's great to incorporate some of those ideas. Chad Stahelski has worked on a show called Lazarus and collaborated with the creator of Cowboy Bebop. Sidetrack about anime because I want to talk about something about anime.
No, it's a nice little full circle moment for Chad Stahelski to do that. Instead of talking about anime, I want to talk about boring budgets and money
Oh
and
boy,
numbers.
tell me numbers, Tom. Tell me
Yes,
the
okay,
statistics.
so this film was reportedly made for $90 million. Now, that is fairly low. We don't know if that was bloated from reshoots. It might have been over 100, but consider how good this film looks. For $90 million, when there's a lot of blockbusters out there. I won't name names, but there are blockbusters out there that cost upwards of 200 or even 300 million that don't look nearly as good as this. And the film has struggled at the box office. We are recording this months in advance, so something surprising could happen. It could have grossed $1 billion, but
$1 billion, more
$1
big
trillion. As it stands right now, after the first 3 weeks, it had only hit $100 million worldwide, which it would need to get over 200 million to break even. So it's clearly not in the realm of breaking even. And that is a huge shame, I think, because this film is probably my least favorite of the John Wick franchise. Oh my God, the sun has just come out in such force. I can barely see
I'm all
anything
good.
right
It's
now.
all cloudy for me over here.
Well,
I'm
you're
just
gonna
like,
enjoy the sun soon. I feel like
Wow.
I'm gonna close my curtain. Hold on.
That was like heavenly. It's just like just hearing your opinion. It was like, tell
Yeah.
me your opinion now.
That's how I feel whenever I feel the need to share my opinions, which is always. So yeah, this is my least favorite of the 5 films, but not by much at all. And I don't think that this deserves to have done so much worse. I hope it doesn't impact the ability to do more, because I do want more of this. I want more John Wick spin-offs. Maybe something about Halle Berry's character from the 3rd film would be awesome. It's
Yeah.
even set up for it. I hope that this does well in some metric. If not at the cinema, maybe it's streaming, or maybe the studio just sees that there is an appetite for stories in this world without it having to be a mainline John Wick story. I think this franchise is special because, think about it, it's the only action franchise, at least that I can think of, that's organically risen in the 2010s and 2020s. It's not based on any pre-existing property or source material, and it's managed to get more popular with each installment, and it's now branching out into spin-offs as well. Aside from a couple of horror franchises, there's no other franchise at all that's like that from the last 15 years, and so I hope it doesn't get cut short here. No, I don't want John Wick 5, and we're gonna get John Wick 5, whatever, but the universe is so big, so let's keep on going in other directions.
Yeah, let's see what's in the John Wick world. I'm hoping one day they will do something, as I mentioned earlier, with 7 Layers of Hell. Let's see something different for this. And I think Ballerina has proved there is something different about the world of John Wick. It's unique, it's creative, it's exciting. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool film.
Absolutely. What are you gonna give it out of 10?
I'm going to give it a 7.
I agree with that, 7 out of 10. Thank you everybody for listening. If you're listening on YouTube and you liked it, you can like and subscribe if you want to see more. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple, you can follow and give us a 5-star review if you think we're worthy. And next week, we are going to be talking about Peacemaker Season 1. We didn't do it when it came out, and Season 2 is coming out, so hit Season 1!
We're doing it now. We're doing it now.
You really want to do? You really want to
Yay.
taste it? Oh, God.
Okay, and you can follow us on Instagram at Out of Time Film Pod to see our incredible thumbnails from Zain Afzal, on Twitter for more thoughts from Tom and me, and TikTok to see edited clips, which are all also on Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts. And you can find links to that all in the description below. Thanks to Johns-Meyer for the excellent theme, and Len Phillips for vocals as always. And I think that's everything. Take what you're given.
Give nothing back.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.